So I live in Lund with my partner Charlie and 2 other people who we share land with. So we actually have a co-ownership agreement. So we're 2 couples and we actually bought our land together. So we all jointly own the entire property, and then together we decide how we want to use it, whether collectively or whether separately. You know, I was still into my first job. I didn't have a lot of savings, so like the idea of owning a home was like not even on my radar. It wasn't something that even felt possible actually. And Charlie, my partner, had been looking for land somewhere in BC for a long time. I think it was the summer of 2017, and we kind of came out to Lund just to see, and we just loved it. We even like called up a real estate agent and went looking at a house we could have never afforded, but just for fun. We came back to Vancouver and we talked to Catherine and Jim, our co-owners, and Catherine is my partner's best friend. And they kind of said, we're looking for land too. And we kind of said, let's do it together. I still felt like it was kind of a pie in the sky idea. But then our co-owner Catherine got on the computer, typed in a Powell River real estate agent, pulled up a house and said, what about this one? And that's our house. Co-ownership for I guess 2 reasons. Like, one is practical in that none of us, we all kind of worked in the nonprofit sector, or not in, extremely well, higher paid sector. So owning a house individually didn't feel realistic. But also we really liked the idea of sharing land. We're 2 people, we don't need an entire 4 acres to ourselves. So the idea of sharing just felt I don't know, ethically or value-wise, attractive to us. All 4 of us were buying without intergenerational wealth, without our parents' help. So the way that my partner and I were able to do it was through our matched RRSPs with our employers. So we had a bit built up, and you're allowed to take out the RRSPs to put them towards a payment on your first house. And then you kind of pay it back. Our co-owners had made some savings as well. So we went to a credit union in Vancouver, and we talked to an account manager there, and they kind of helped us get all the paperwork together, told us what the terms that we could expect would be, and they also offered additional help through all of the legal fees. I think it's really interesting buying with a credit union because people aren't used to the support they're able to offer. That was, I think, the game changer. It wouldn't have happened without that element. It was a lot of security and I think less stress than dealing with the bank. And so we ended up finding our current property, which is just a 5-minute walk from the ocean, kind of built up on a hill, and it's just really mossy and beautiful. When we first moved up, we all shared the house. There's 2 bedrooms, so we shared the house together. And then my partner and I got married, and so our co-owners renovated basically a shack, a sort of storage shack on the property, and turned it into a tiny home. And they lived in that for 2 years. But with our respective families growing, more space was needed. We've started turning it into a duplex. And so we've kind of split it up, and there's 2 much smaller homes, but they're really cozy. It's been awesome. It's sort of like having a built-in support system, especially when you're moving from the city into a really tiny community. We sort of share things tools and a shop, and we manage our recycling and waste together and that kind of thing. But then we have sort of separate garden areas, so everyone can kind of just putter at their own pace. The lives we want to live as couples, but then also this really great sort of communal openness. So every few months we have these estates general where we sort of just get together, just talk about what's going on the land, what needs to be done, if there's a danger tree that needs to come down, if there's upgrades or work that needs to be done on electrical or plumbing or that kind of thing. Knowing Lund and its sort of history as sort of a hippie community, progressive community, felt inviting. I think that especially as a person of color living in a really small town, that was a major consideration for me. I think I just really like the level of community. You kind of get to know everyone, and I really value that growing up. You just learn to appreciate all different types of people and personalities because that's who's in your community, and you're together, you're sharing, you just kind of have to get along. And so I really like that part, and it sort of gets you out of your bubble and assumptions and that kind of thing. And it also feels because we have land, we're also thinking about ways that we can share it with other people who don't have land also. Can we have tenting platforms? Do we have space to build another building and create spaces where other people can live? And so that's made me really conscious of sort of the responsibility that comes with homeownership and how to be a better contributing member of my community. And then I think also we've been thinking about this also a lot, just the strangeness of trying to have a decolonized mindset yet also owning land is sort of like a challenging one to navigate. And so my partner and I have been talking about, okay, what does decolonizing our land ownership look like? Is it even possible? And been reading things like people have talked about willing your land once you're gone back to the nation whose territory it's on. But yeah, still wrestling with the privilege of land ownership and what it means to be a good community member.